acronym is PryFly. You're up on part of the island right now. We'll go in there. We'll go from that down one level to the chart room where navigation takes place, and then we'll go from there into the bridge where the captain lives. A little bit about the ship, if you haven't heard and haven't got it. This ship was commissioned in 1945, just after the end of World War II. At that time, it still had a straight deck. In other words, the flight deck was straight. It did not have the angle on it at that time. In 1955, they put it in the dry dock and put the bigger deck on it and put the angle. We got the angle deck from the Brits. The Brits were the one who told us how to do that. The Brits were also the ones who told us how to do steam catapults up there, and they were the ones who had first ones to have an armored flight deck also. The flight deck that you see here has got about 3 inches of steel. That's what it's made out of.
3 inches.
In like I say, 1955 they put the angle on. In 1966 they took it back in again, added a little bit more to the flight deck, did some other things, primarily out of it to the hull, because now you got a whole lot bigger deck on it, so you got to do something to the hull to make it do that. The ship, when it initially came out, weighed about 55,000 tons. When it was decommissioned in 1992, it weighed 70,000 tons, or just a hair below 70,000 tons. So it picked up a fair amount of weight during that time frame. When it was commissioned, it had, I think it was 18 5-inch guns on it. When they worked on it in 55, they knocked it down to about 2 or 3 guns, and now doesn't have any. Guns just, we're not going to take an aircraft carrier out and get in a gun battle with somebody, so we don't have guns. And anytime an aircraft carrier goes anywhere, you're going to have escorts. You're always going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 escort ships, destroyers, frigates, and that sort of thing. And today, they're going to have a submarine as well.
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so let's go on into PryFly.
Go ahead and sit next to the piano.
Come ahead and crowd in. We don't have big spaces on board a ship. So.
这是干嘛的？控制室。What do you call the highest ranking person in the area? Captain?
The captain. The captain runs the ship. There may be an admiral on board, but he doesn't run the ship. He may tell the ship where they want it to go. But he doesn't run. Well, this is PryFly, primary flight controller. This is like the aircraft control tower at your airport. The airspace around us here, the air boss who sits right here, will have control of an airspace of about 5 miles around, and between 2,500 and 5,000 feet above the ship is his airspace here. The air boss is the one who runs the show. He is typically a Navy commander. He will have had command of a aircraft squadron, a flying squadron on board of a ship before. The mini boss is his assistant, same criteria. He'll be an air boss for about a year, then the mini boss will move over and take over, and this guy will go on and do something else. He owns all of the people down on the flight deck. They work either directly for him or work under his control. At any one time, you can have about 40 airplanes and about 250 people down there on the flight deck during flight operations. During flight operations is what I like to term it as a very well orchestrated ballet down there. That's what everybody's job is, and they have to know that precisely. If they don't, somebody's going to get killed. It is really intense. For example, we're going to land during normal flight operations, we're going to launch an aircraft off the bow up here about every minute. When we're in recovery, we're going to land an aircraft about every 45 seconds. So it's a very fast operation. Things have to move very well orchestrated, perfectly. Assisting the air boss up here, and what he is doing is, first of all, is back on the back there, where that Hornet is, back there is the LSO. The LSO is a very important person. He's the one who controls the aircraft coming down on the glide slope up there. If a pilot's doing his job right and right on, the LSO rarely will say anything to him. He's got it nailed coming down there. I encourage you right back here, why this F4, they have a trap talk, and I would encourage you to stop and listen to it. It's very good. So the air boss controls the flight deck up here. He has to tell the LSO when he has a ready deck, when the deck is clear and there's no obstructions to it. And he has a switch over there on that red box, and as soon as an airplane lands, he turns that switch off. That means that you cannot land, and you cannot take aircraft on until that switch is full. And that means that the air boss has looked down, he sees there's nothing inside of the foul line. There'd be a petty officer over here who's looking at these gauges, and these are the arresting gear engines here. And he will look at them and make sure that they are set properly for the aircraft that's about to land out here. Here is the Fresnel lens control, and the Fresnel lens is back over here, right, just about straight down on us, down here, down there where those blue containers are down there. And take a look at that sometime too. That's what gives the pilot the meatball to come down. And he sets it right here. He sets it right here for the type of aircraft that's coming down. Each type of aircraft has a slightly different setting on that Fresnel lens out there. And until the air boss gets a thumbs up from these guys, he will not let an airplane land. Also helping him up here, there'll be a pilot from each of the squadrons that has an aircraft airborne, and they'll be up here. Although the air boss is relatively omnipotent, knows everything, does everything, he may not have exact recall on what happens if an aircraft loses hydraulics or something like that. And he'll turn around to the pilot who's up here and say, what's that going to do? And what's that pilot going to have to do? So they're up here for that purpose.
About how many people can be in here?
Ordinarily you'll have, depending on how many squadrons have people up here, you've got these 4 people right here, you'll have a person writing on that status board right there, and maybe 3 pilots.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Yeah. All right, let's go on down to follow me. Perfectly, here we come.